Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and this is Dispatches from Elsewhere, Season 1, Episode 3, Janice. Before I get started here, I'm going to take care of a little bit of business first, and then I'll get into it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, at the very end of this video, you're going to see a video pop up here. Basically, what YouTube does, takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching, tries to match it as best as possible to one of the videos in my vast video library, and pops it up there just for you. Up here, of course, is going to be, I just forgot what it was. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Is It Worth My Time? Altered Carbon Season 2, which is going to be up there. Also, if you want to know when I'm be on live again next, you can hit the bell down below there. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you when I'm on. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com, where I change out the schedule every Monday, which I did right before this episode started. I also mirror that on Facebook as well. And for those of you who still have Facebook, I have a Facebook group page, which you guys can post on, talk amongst yourselves, all that kind of good stuff. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, I also have a Patreon page, but no tier set up as of yet. That will change at some point in time in the future. Just haven't decided when yet. Wow. So, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. If you've not watched the episode, go back and watch it. And this will be a video you can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the battle. All right. So we pretty much left off where we left off with episode 2, which is Janice, Peter, and Simone pedaling on that weird bike, going after Fredwin, who's in the trunk of Octavio's limo. And Octavio decides to introduce us to Janice in a cartoon. And we see, she got married, of course, had kids. Uh, what you would think of Janice at this point in time. And it kind of almost plays like Up in a way, the way they kind of did it, but a little more whimsical, almost like a commercial cartoon, something you would see in a commercial. And then we see that Lev, you can't tell if he gets sick or he dies or what happens. You know that her husband is out of the picture now at this point. And she's like, what am I supposed to do now? Is what this is. And we see, the limo goes into the garage. They need to get inside there. They were like, well, Janice goes, we need to do what Fredwin would do and infiltrate. And so they decided to go into the Jejun Institute shareholders meeting, which of course was on their agenda anyway. And they want to get into the garage, of course, get Fredwin out of the trunk. And Janice ends up inadvertently talking her way into the garage. uh, she uses a catch-22 in order to get in there and kind of surprises herself in a way. And they get into the garage. They find the trunk is empty. Fredwin actually calls Janice and says that Octavio has an envelope in his pocket and that she needs to get that envelope, and that he'll explain later, kind of thing. And Octavio and his people are coming towards them anyway, and he knows all of them. He knows them by name. So, which is all kind of weird now at this point. So he's like, what is this all about? What happened to the previous 12 commanders before him, and things like that. And then also, what are his motives? Why does he want to go up against the Jejun Institute? Why does he think that we're evil? And why do you guys think I'm evil, kind of thing? And he goes, there must be some kind of question that you have. And Peter blurts out, he goes, is this real? And Octavio kind of dances around that whole question, is it real or not? And you really don't get a sense of, is it a game? Is it not a game? What is going on here? We never really get a straight answer, because that's kind of how Octavio plays this. Even when he's talking to us, the viewer, and that's what he calls us, the viewer, we never get a straight answer out of him, even though he says he will not lie to us, although he did lie to us once in the first episode, but he never told us what that lie was. That is Octavio. He's very slippery. He just it's exactly Josephine Tracy. This is the Janice breakout episode. So each character, this is the, you know what? That's the thing that he lied to us about. Honestly, now that I think about it, Octavio told us in the beginning that he was not going to go through a boring expose on each character, on building up each character. They're going to get straight to the story. Instead, every episode that we've had so far introduces us to a character. The first episode to Peter, the second episode to Simone, the third episode to Janice, and of course, the fourth one, we're going to get introduced to Fredwin at this point. So that is the lie, I guess, that he told us, is that he wasn't going to introduce these characters to us. And instead, he actually is introducing these characters to us, each in their own episode, which is actually really good. I mean, I agree with you, Ace of Spades. This show is interesting. It is bringing me into this, of course. And Janice, in order to try and get into, Octavio's pocket, decides that she's going to fake that she's cold backstage, and she wants, Octavio's jacket. If he could, if he was a gentleman, he would actually put it around her. And he's like, well, why don't you go out and sit out in the house and they will provide you a jacket? And he goes, I really want you to go out there. Peter and Simone can stay backstage, is what he says. And she kind of reluctantly agrees out there, goes out there. And we have the presentation that starts. And the presentation for the Jejun Institute talks about social reengineering. So it's kind of funny that they mention this social reengineering. Jason Siegel did a lot of research into this. I actually did some research into this as well, because it's based on the 2013 short documentary called The Institute, which is based on the real game that happened in San Francisco from 2008 to around 2010, 2011, somewhere around there, from artist Jeff Hull, who talked about it was a social reengineering project, basically working on with this. And that's kind of what this show is doing as well. Is I don't know if we're being gamed in all of this, or uh are we just coming along for the ride as the viewer and seeing what happens to these people? I don't know for sure exactly how he's playing this out, but it's very interesting. I like this. Yes, the CIA did do a lot of mind experimentation. That's true, they did. um so he ends up, of course, getting Janice up onto stage to try out the idea, which is invented by Clara. It was one of the last things she invented before she disappeared. And it's a VR helmet, of course. And she puts it on and she gets to relive her wedding day, because that is the most prolific thing on her Facebook page. She's got a bunch of things once. And then afterwards, we remember that event. And then when we remember that event again, we're remembering the memory of that event, and so on and so forth, down through our lives, of course, until you get to the point where, is what I'm remembering actually real, or is it me? That's what he's questioning. So this whole thing, the idea, is supposed to capture your memory and let you relive it over and over again using these VR specs. So she actually gets to go and relive her memory. And at one point, Octavio says, you're going to meet your younger self. You're going to be able to talk to your younger self. We're going to turn off the cameras. We're going to turn off the screens and everything, so you can have some privacy, and you'll be able to talk to yourself at that point. And she does. And her younger self, she actually gets into an argument with her younger self about who she's become and who she is, and how she broke the promise to herself. And she says everything's changed, you don't understand, this kind of thing. And she finally just says no, 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 and pulls off the helmet and is crying. And Peter and Simone are watching for backstage, and as Simone says, she goes, oh my god, this must be what parents are like. Don't embarrass me, please. Kind of thing. And Peter's gonna go out, he's getting ready to rush out there to go and help Janice, and Octavio waves him off. And Janice actually hugs him and says, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then who busts in but Commander 14? And we see Commander 14 and Octavio in the same room. And it's the same type of voice. Basically, I don't know if it's Richard Grant playing two different roles now at this point, or what. Because obviously the person playing Commander 14 has a lot of fake wigs on, a fake beard, a fake wig. And his eyes are covered, so I can't tell exactly who it is that's playing this character. Um, and he's talking about how he's there to liberate everyone from the Jejun Institute. And Octavio says, I kind of knew some shooters and streamer shooters and Nerf guns and things like that. And an epic battle ensues within the theater of people having fun, really, is what's going on. And Janice basically tells Simone and Peter that she needs to go outside and get some air. So they go outside, they get some air, and as soon as they go out the stage door, the stage door closes and locks on them. But they're like, "Oh my god, we can't get back inside. Did we lose?" And that's when Fred one pops out and says, "No, there's no winning or losing in this game. It's just a game. It's all just a distraction," is what he says. And he says, "I got the script for it. That's how I know everything that's going to happen." He goes, "Just like I know underneath this brick, there's a dog whistle that when I blow it, the blue bus comes." He goes, "There's also a saffron bus. They both end up in the same place. The Jesuit Institute and the Elsewhere Society are both the same." And he goes, there's nothing different about them. It's all part of the game." And he goes, "And if you look up, flyers are going to come down from the Jesuit Institute announcing their next piece of the puzzle." And he says, "We need to go to the diner and we need to talk about this now." And Janice is like, no, no, it's too old. I mean, it's too late. I need to get home." And everyone else is like, "Yeah, you know what? Let's just do it tomorrow." And Fredwin finally relents and says, "All right, we'll do it tomorrow. Then it'll give me time to think about it." Yeah, that's the other thing, Josephine Tracy. I don't know if Fredwin is an operative for the experiment or not. I can't really tell. You know what? I didn't check IMDb to see if Commander 14 was there. That is the episode. And you bear with me for just a second. I do not see 13 up there at all. So we have Octavio. We have even something that happens at the end here, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Yeah, we don't have Commander 13 on there. Yeah, they don't have it. Interesting. So it could be Richard Grant. It could definitely be Richard Grant. Yeah. Uh and I believe it is. Yeah, IMDb was no help, exactly. So Janice, says, "Yeah, it's past the old lady's bedtime," kind of thing. And um basically her younger self was basically saying that the younger kids basically humor her and really don't think of her as useful and all this kind of stuff. Basically puts doubts in her heads at this point. Um, Josephine Tracy says Simone and Peter are late social bloomers, and this experiment has allowed them to finally shine. I don't think so much late social bloomers, Josephine Tracy, as they've both had trauma to the point where they believe he had I think his dad died, had a prolonged illness and death, and that kind of made Peter withdraw into himself. We saw a little bit of it in the first episode, but we didn't get into it a lot. And I'm thinking, and of course Simone being transgender, all of that that comes with it. Uh, the uh, the pain that happened from her parents rejecting her, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, so that as well. So excuse me. Janice ends up going home. We see her that Lev is actually still alive, but he's in a coma. He's in a hospital bed, and the nurse is there, and she apologizes, for being so late. And she's basically telling Lev about her day and, you know, how much he would have hated it, all that kind of stuff. And as we're pinning back out the window as she's talking to him, the open window, we see this little boy that's looking in the window. And then you see him from behind, then we see the front of him, and he's got his face painted up as a clown with a frowny face, and we see him smile. And I don't know what the hell that's about, quite honestly. I really don't know what the hell the clown boy is all about. I you know, it's one of those things that you just kind of you kind of just got to roll with it and see what's going to happen the next episode. I don't know if they're gonna. Yeah, I don't know who the boy even is either. Ace of Spades. Um, and that's going to be something that probably gets answered either next episode or maybe a couple episodes down the line, because even we found out that some of the flyers that Peter was looking at in the very first episode, which strangely enough I wrote down, dolphin communication, human force field experiments, things like that, were all part of the Jejun Institute. And as a matter of fact, Janice herself had picked a from a flyer that was promising anti-gravity dancing. So she didn't even go for the Jejun Institute, the one that Peter went for. Simone probably didn't even pick up something from the flyer that the others have. They all picked something from a different flyer, most likely, that appealed to them, and they're all in the same game now at this point. Um, so yeah, this shows you how far-reaching this game is, and again, it's social reengineering, as what Jeff Hull, this artist who originally came up with the game, uh, started, and that's where we're at. And of course, we're gonna have Fredwin next week. We're gonna have his whole episode and all the weirdness that is Fredwin, and I'm looking forward to it. To tell you the truth, that we're gonna find out, is he actually an agent? I don't think he is an agent. I just think he's so paranoid about shit that he almost ends up becoming suspect at this point. Yeah. I mean, he's that paranoid to the point where he becomes suspect, as if he's a plant or not, into this group. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting ride. I'm digging this series. I really am digging this series. It's really good. Did Janice imagine her dialogue with her younger self? I don't know. That's the whole thing. We never got to see it up on the screen, and all we saw was what was going on in her VR helmet. And she wasn't even talking outside of the VR helmet, we're finding out. So whatever she was talking to her younger self, it was all happening in her head. So she could have just imagined all that dialogue with her younger self. Possibly. I mean, that's kind of what social engineering does in a way. You're supposed to, well, social engineering is supposed to get you to open up about stuff that you normally wouldn't talk about. And of course, give out information about yourself as well. So social re-engineering is supposed to get you to admit things to yourself that you never would admit to yourself to begin with, and kind of open up to your own self uh, about those things. And that's kind of what this was all about, if you get my drift on that one. It's almost like therapy in a way. A very, very kind of weird kind of therapy. Yeah. Ace of Spades says, could there be technology in their heads put their birth in the stories? Where I don't think so. I don't think this is going to be a sci-fi or anything like that. I think what we're just seeing is puzzle in game at this point. And it is based on a, like I said, the true story of what happened in San Francisco in 2008. Excuse me, to around 2010 or 11, somewhere around there. Yeah, and there was nothing there was no malcontent that was going on there. Some people, from what I understood, took it way too fucking seriously, and yeah, took things just a little too far on things. And then other people just had fun with it. So you have people that swing across all spectrums at that point. Yeah. So yeah, another great episode that we had. I mean, I like the first two episodes a lot better. This episode was a little more pedestrian and safe. It was a safe episode is what this was. This was, as they were saying, even her younger self of Janice was saying that she took the safe road, and that's kind of what this was. This was the safe spot for us. Exactly, Josephine Tracy. Something that's got to be compelling for people to go along with the game. And I think what it is it's the mystery of what comes next. What's next? And as Octavio said, what am I supposed to do now? you know? And that's what's compelling to people is they come to a point where they're like, "What am I supposed to do now?" You've all done that in a video game. You've played a video game, you get to a point where you come to a an impasse and you're like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do now?" And you're kinda looking around, you're scrolling around or whatever, you're bumping into the walls, you're blowing shit up or whatever, and you're going, "Oh, that's what I'm supposed to do." It's not really obvious sometimes in some video games. It's the same thing in this game as well, I think, is, that it's what am I supposed to do now? And you're not really guided towards anything. You're more or less given a whole bunch of options, and what you choose more tells about who you are and than what the game is, to tell you the truth. Uh, I'm gonna murder it. Yeet Yote Dude says, I watch with my parents. They're more interested in the adventure. I'm more interested in the mystery, but we've all connected with the characters. Yeah. And that's kind of what Octavio said at the beginning. He says, you're going to connect with these characters. And he says, yes. He goes, I told you that, you're Peter. Now you're Simone. Now you're Janice. And he goes, and you're probably upset with me at this point. But it's some people are going to connect with one character or the other is what they're giving us at this point. I'm not really seeing myself in any of the characters. Who knows? I might end up being the Fred one of the whole thing. Who knows at this point? Uh, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Excuse me. I still have my cough going from pneumonia. It's not COVID-19, just so you know. So far, you're all of them. Nice. Yeah. I'm finding this very interesting. I really am. I like it. And it's just weird enough that it's keeping me in there. Um yeah, I agree with you, Yeet, Yoke dude. If you're making a discussion analysis show, you're probably Fredwin. That's why I'm saying I know I overanalyze stuff quite a bit. If I have notes. So yeah, I have notes on the episode. And like I said, I went back to my notes from episode 1, which I actually wrote down the shit about, you know, what was on each of the different flyers out there. So obviously I'm Fredwin at that point because I'm fucking taking notes on the show and talking about it. Yeah. Uh Josephine Tracy says I identify with a conversation with myself would have helped her. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what this whole thing is about. Is you're identifying with a character, you're going to see this character in yourself, and then we're also moving the story along as well as we are getting these characters introduced to us, which is what I like in some writing. I don't like it where you have to stop and you're like, "Wait a minute, we need to talk about these characters first." And then you go through this whole exposition of the characters and you cut back into the story. No, I'm liking how Octavio is doing this, where he's showing us in 2-minute glimpses who these people are, and then jumping in back into the story and saying, okay, here's what's happening. These are who these people are, and that's what's great about it. I mean, it's not sacrificing the story for a character exposition and vice versa, you know? They're interweaving it, and that's actually good writing, is what you're seeing here. Really good writing. Uh, Dude says, I love it. I'm along for the ride. Thanks for the post show. Criminal amount of discussion about the show. I agree. Yes, I definitely agree on that. Uh no, yeah, man. Thank you for everyone who comes in and watch this. It was one of those shows that when I saw that Jason Segel was doing it, and then I saw what the source material was, I was like, okay, definitely. I know I do genre shows for the most part. I do sci-fi, fantasy, all that kind of stuff. But this seemed it was just weird enough where I was like, I want to cover this because the program logo is a pyramid with the eye significance. No, I think it's just trying to do the weird, uh, a secret society logo is what that is. You always had the pyramid with the eye It's the all-seeing eye, basically. It's supposed to be the eye of God. That is what the pyramid with the eye is. And a lot of secret societies use that in the past, and that's pretty much what they're doing with this. Is they're putting it in the logo, which I think is kind of funny. It's a good callback to all secret societies. The Freemasons. I mean, hell, it's on your money. If you take a look at your money, it's on there because of the Freemasons. Yeah. And that's just good. That shows you that someone has actually researched this stuff. They've shown that they have enough interest in it to do the research and dig and create this world and breathe life into this world. And that's actually, again, that's really good. And that's why I like Jason Siegel, to tell you the truth. He does this. He really gets into the stuff that he's into. I was telling people that I was chatting with some people online, and I said, yeah, the Muppet movie, when he did the Muppet movie, that's kind of where I started becoming a fan of his because I didn't realize how much he was into puppets until I was reading an interview with him about this, and he's got puppets all over his house, from what I understand. Supposedly it creeps people out when they walk in. And so he's a huge fan of the Muppets, and it showed. I mean, he did a great Muppet movie, and then, he's done, what was it? The Discovery that he did on Netflix about, what if people found out that there really was life after death kind of thing, some definitive proof, and people start killing themselves to get there faster, all that kind of stuff. That was very interesting. I haven't seen that one yet, but it was on my list of things to watch. And so pretty much everything that he does is very interesting and very intricate. And he actually delves into this stuff and pays attention to detail, pays attention to writing, and maps it out, and it shows. That's excuse me. That's the nice thing about what he does there. Oh man. Um Yeah, and you know what? This show actually kind of acts like a catharsis as well when you're going through this, and I don't know. I don't know about you guys. For me, it feels like kind of a little catharsis going through it, and I feel like a release has happened when I'm done. Watching it. Oh yeah, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That was a good one too. Yeah, and I Love You, Man. I Love You, Man was actually pretty funny. It's weird. It's very weird, but uh, that's pretty funny, yeah. Yeah, he wrote the Muppet movie, the musical, yeah. Uh, am I a man or a Muppet? He wrote that song, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Am I a Muppet of a man? So the guy's talented. He's very, very talented, and, yeah, I'm digging what he's putting down, so alright. So, I got how many people are sitting around there in the chat? We got about 10 people that are floating around. We probably got some lurkers in there too. So, what else do I got going on? Tomorrow is Project Blue Book is what's happening. Wednesday and Thursday I'm off. Friday is Clone Wars. Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the week and talk about it and any other genre stuff you guys want to talk about. Sunday is the premiere of Westworld Season 3, Episode 1. And of course, we come all the way back around again to Dispatches from Elsewhere. As Penn is putting up there, check out suspendedfanimation.com for the schedule. Remember to like, share, and subscribe at the very end of this. You're going to see a video pop up here. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at that video. If you like it, hit the subscribe button. You're watching Blue Book as well, Josephine. Yeah, I've seen you in the chat for Project Blue Book. That's right, Josephine Tracy. I remember seeing you in the chat for that. I like Project Blue Book. It's very X Files esque, I guess you could say. Yeah. Thank you, Ace of Spades. Welcome, by the way, too. For all the people that are lurking out there, or if you're new and all that stuff, come on by the chat. The chat's actually one of the nicest chats you're gonna see on YouTube. Quite honestly. Yes, I'm slowly creeping up on 1,000 subs. Come on by. I If you wanna see a variety of things, I've got, Is It Worth My Time? And that's basically the Netflix and, Amazon series that I just can't do episode by episode, so I just do the entire season right there, and Is It Worth My Time? I also do movies in there too, so there's a variety of things if you take a look under that playlist there. I also do a lot of different shows too. I've been doing, Future Man's gonna be coming up. Um, yeah, again, if you go to suspendedfanimation.com, if you take a look into the schedule, I have what's coming up next. So I'm definitely doing the animated Harley Quinn season 2 in April, Stargirl in May. Of course, Westworld is coming up, Westworld season 3. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out. I've got to write some more stuff down, as a matter of fact, because I know that there's a lot more things that are coming too. Future Man's going to be coming here soon as well in April. The final season of Future Man. If you haven't seen Future Man on Hulu, I highly suggest you do it. The first season is awesome. The second season's good as well. And looking forward to seeing how they go out in the third season. Yeah. All right. Uh yeah, I know. I don't do Better Call Saul. Sorry, Josephine Tracy. I'm not really into the uh that genre. Yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. I see the tail end of it when before Dispatches from Elsewhere comes on, and it doesn't really intrigue me all that much. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna let you guys go since it is getting late for people out on the East Coast. And I've also gotta walk a little dog who's been bothering me for the last half hour, or actually the half hour before I got on. Thank you, everybody who joined me today in the chat. Thank you if you made it this far in the video. And I'm gonna let you guys go for the night. Until tomorrow, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may find some little creepy clown kid peeking in through your window, which honestly, who knows what the fuck all that's about. Thank you, everybody. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of your night, and I'll see you then.